agenda in front of you. Now that we're recording, we're all good. You are all being recorded now. So any changes to tonight's agenda? Mike, Sandy, anything for tonight's agenda?
No.
Yeah, that was.
Nope.
No,
All right. Thank you. I'm going to consider tonight's agenda good. Everybody had a chance to look at Kim's council meeting minutes from March 22nd. Thank you, Kim, for all the work you do putting those together. Any edits or comments on the agenda from our March 22nd council meeting?
You mean
Nope.
minutes?
Minutes.
Minutes. You
Yeah,
said
good.
agenda.
Sorry, minutes.
Yeah.
Hearing none, all in favor?
I
Thank you. All, any opposed? Hearing none. Thank you, Kim. You're wonderful. I sent out the treasurer's report. I hope you all had a moment to take a look at it. Any questions or comments or anything from you, Sandy, on the treasurer's report?
Nope, we just had the one deposit, which was the final deposit from the grant 3. And so that's completed. And so far this month, John has one address sign that he's making.
Excellent. All right. Any comments on the treasurer's report? Seeing and hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All opposed? Hearing none? It's in the minutes. Going through the partners reports, I don't see. Is Dave Witt online? Who is the David that's online?
I'm just somebody who saw the meeting on the calendar and decided to show up. My last name is Malan, M-A-L-A-N.
Perfect. We wanted to make sure that we had you in the meeting minutes that you were there, and I'm making sure that you weren't Chief Dave Witt. So thank you. Not seeing Chief Dave Witt. I don't see OES Deputy Bear online either. So next up, Ken, for the El Dorado County Fire Safe Council.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. So this is Ken. I'll give the quick report on this morning's meeting at the El Dorado County Fire Safe Council. A lot going on. I think the big topic is the defensible space training that's being sponsored by not only the El Dorado County Fire Safe Council, but the collaboration between CAL FIRE, the Fire Prevention Officers Association, fire chiefs, and a number of other folks, putting on what's really a groundbreaking, first of its kind, 2-day training course on defensible space and home hardening. I think there's roughly 24 students in this first class, which will be Friday and Saturday. And there's a second course coming up in mid-May. And then they just announced at the council meeting this morning that a third class will be put on June 2nd and 3rd. Signups that the classes for April and May are full, but additional signups are available for the June class. And I think more information will be coming out on getting spots in that. But I know we've got folks from our Fire Safe Council here in those classes, but this is really groundbreaking training that actually the state's looking at, and this actual course may be delivered around other parts of the state. It's the same training that fire agencies and others are getting, and we'll bring it here to deliver it to community members, et cetera. So huge workload putting that together, but that's happening starting this week. Also talked about the new grant process. So there's been a subcommittee working on sort of providing better information and process for associate fire safe councils to apply for grants under a more coordinated process. The workload with 30 fire safe councils all trying to apply for grants has impacted significantly the ability for the County Fire Safe Council to support all of those activities and efforts, as well as trying to coordinate that with the partner agencies and organizations. So there's been a subcommittee working on building a new process. That process went out for review. It was discussed today at the meeting. I don't know if it was shared out from here or not, Janet, but it's been out to all the fire safe councils. They'll be finalizing that and putting that in place before next month. And it's really just to facilitate, to make sure that we don't miss anything when associate fire safe councils are applying for grants, that they understand that there's a workload involved with that. It's all operating underneath the umbrella of the nonprofit status of the larger fire safe council. So just to make sure everybody understands what information they have to provide to make the process easier and flow better and more coordinated. So that's been a lot of work going on. The County Fire Safe Council is reaching out to associate councils to help with support for that county fair, which is coming up Father's Day weekend in June. There's again this year a coordinated booth between, again, CAL FIRE, the Forest Service, the Fire Safe Council, the Resource Conservation District, El Dorado County's Office of Wildfire Preparedness, and the fire districts and fire prevention officers. So there's a large booth space that's going to be one large display between all of these organizations. Second year in a row that this has happened, and this year is definitely stepping up to be a huge improvement even over last year. So a lot of excitement behind that. And then thanks to our own, John Hess, for willingness to step up for the Home and Garden Show at the Placerville Fairgrounds coming up in mid-May. I forgot the actual date, but it's the second or third weekend in May, and second weekend. And John's offered to make
First weekend in May.
First weekend in May. Oh. Who's looking?
John is looking, but what the best part of the whole thing is John has offered to spend the weekend there making address signs for folks, and that was very well received by the outreach folks at the El Dorado County Fire Safe Council and very much appreciated. So John's looking, and I apologize, I don't have the date in front of me, but again, it's coming up here very quickly. May 5th, 6th, and 7th. And absent, I think, a few hours, John will be there for most of the weekend.
She'll have a general vote.
Alice Cantelo, yeah. So for those that may not be able to hear John saying that he'll be partnering with Alice Cantelo, who's the outreach coordinator for the County Fire Safe Council. Alice will have the general display with all of the basic defensible space and other information. And then John will be partnered with her, providing the signs at the booth there at the fair for the entire show. So that, again, is a huge deal. We're finally getting back into doing more of these venues and getting things out. The other biggest challenge at the Fire Safe Council has been the website. It has been slowly degrading over the last year or two, and finally got to a point where there needed to be a wholesale upgrade to the County Fire Safe Council website. Why it's so important is that the chipping program for the council is directly tied to the website. All of the applications are automated through the website. And what's been happening is there's a separate web hosting company different than the website management company. And we're migrating all of that under one organization now. And so this week we've been migrating the web hosting under the same vendor that does the design. Short version of it, the entire website is down. And that means there is no current process for accepting applications for the chipping program. Literally during today's meeting this morning, the website came back up. It's back online, hosted under the new vendor, and they're currently working in the next day or two to get the chipping application back up and running so we can get people back online to apply for chipping. The priorities are to not only ensure that the chipping application is revised to be more user-friendly, but also to automate the defensible space application for seniors, veterans, and low-income residents. So it'll be managed the same way. And then a third application is being added. That's the hazardous tree removal program, which is another new grant that the Fire Safe Council received to provide hazardous tree removal for, again, low income residents based on some criteria. That contract is already out and available. We have a contract manager who's actually managing that entire program. So as soon as the website is functional, all of that will be available. We'll start taking applications for that. It's a big deal right now that we've come out of the storms, a lot of down material, a lot of interest, of course, as the weather's changing into doing defensible space and shipping. So folks are in limbo. There is a significant amount of funding available for both the chipping and the defensible space programs, unlike we have seen in any other year, and it will continue into the future through a CAL FIRE grant, and now through a grant from the Air Quality Management District. We just received another $355,000 from the County Air Quality Management District this week to fund the chipping program. Oh, yes, and as Janet's saying, there's another $300,000 that's from the Forest Service that's available for the chipping program on top of the CAL FIRE grant of $1.2 million for the chipping program. And so we're looking at over $2 million right now for the chipping program. And so we're looking at we're getting the website more robust to handle the volume, but it's going to be looking at a different way, a different approach to the program, more community chipping days. Certainly any individual resident can apply and they'll be scheduled, but we're also looking at blocking community chipping days. So we'll be coordinating with associate councils that have the ability to pull together multiple residents, and our one of the staff members at the council is putting together spreadsheets and will facilitate coordinating with a contractor to make all that happen. So more, again, with the website challenges, this has been hard to, there hasn't been a lot of advertisement until we were ready to sort of take this on, but there will be a lot more coming out here in the next month or so to really ramp this up, where the volume of work in the chipping program and defensible space has been down because of the weather. And so we really want to make sure that's happening. So all of that's kind of coming out here pretty quick. The defensible space program for seniors has also, that program started with maybe $5,000 from the Friends of Seniors and from SMUD and from the Veterans Association. We now have the county chipping in over $100,000 in Title III funding for that program. We have a grant out to PG&E for another $95,000 to fund that program, amongst some other funding from SMUD and a collection. We just received today another $8,000 from Friends of Seniors. So we're growing that program. None of these programs are going to start and stop. Right now, they're open year round, but the availability of funding. And so why this is important is that we talked about all this training going out for Fire Safe Council members to do defensible space and home hardening evaluations. We've got the agencies gearing up. The county is contracting to have defensible space evaluations done both in the Tahoe Basin and on the West Slope. There's a coordinated effort this year to engage and partner the agencies and the organizations to do sort of a really cohesive effort to do defensible space evaluations. The emphasis is not on inspection and enforcement; it's on evaluation and education. And certainly, the law allows for taking care of those individuals who choose to be flagrant violators. But the desire by everyone, CAL FIRE, the county, the Fire Safe Council leadership, and others has been, well, let's just work on educating our and getting them the tools. So as these evaluations are occurring by our fire agencies and others and our Fire Safe Councils, everyone will be armed also with the tools. Here's the defensible space and chipping programs that can come help get the work done for you as well. So it's really going to focus on that. More will be coming out. There's some focus areas that are being identified. It was announced today, although we don't have all the background information yet, but Outingdale is going to be one of the communities that's going to receive a lot of focused effort in assistance with evaluations, both from the county and from the support programs. So more to come there, but just know we'll be sort of ground zero for one of the focus areas as they work on defensible space this year. So it's that really is all the talk, to be honest with you. That's what most of the effort this year is going into, is really ramping up this coordinated approach to get defensible space done. No, Janet, what did I miss? There was a lot to.
Associate council.
Oh, yeah. So one, we've just about closed out the Title III mini grants that I think 14 fire safe councils applied for, including ours, and did greenways days and outreach. We are assessing what the next round could look like. Again, the county made the commitment again today that we're hoping there's a long-term relationship between the Fire Safe Council and the county to continue these Title III funds. And for those that don't know, Title III funds are basically those in lieu funds because over half of the county is in federal ownership, mostly the National Forest. We don't receive property taxes from federal ownership. So the federal government makes up that deficit that the county would receive if those were private lands receiving property tax by providing in lieu funding. And there's a formula, changes all the time, but at the end of the day, there's an amount of money that comes to El Dorado County. Typically, it's been split between the Sheriff's Department search and rescue. There's a very defined process for how that money needs to get spent in the federal statutes. Search and rescue to the sheriff's office and to community wildfire protection, Firewise community efforts, the very things that we do. So over the years, there's been kind of a negotiation back and forth between the sheriff's office and the fire safe councils as to how much of that money goes where. And this year, the sheriff's office is receiving funding from some other opportunities. And so there was an agreement that the Fire Safe Council is receiving the bulk of the Title III funding coming to El Dorado County. The county's made a commitment that they're obviously ongoing negotiations with the sheriff and others, but at the end of the day, they would like to continue to support the efforts ongoing of the Fire Safe Council, particularly as it relates to supporting education, outreach, and defensible space for our communities. So we've just revised the contract with the county for the next 3 years. And again, Sue Henneke, the deputy CAO, reiterated this morning she wants to make that an ongoing commitment to all of us. So why that's important is those are funds that's what we used to do our dumpster days, our greenways days. Those are funds that are available to do outreach, and we can we purchase materials, we can do our mailings, all of that. And so as we evaluate how much money's coming in to the council, we are looking at opportunities maybe to do some more of those $4,000 or $5,000 mini grants out to the associate councils to support those activities. So, so more to come there.
Sooner than later though, so associate councils
Can plan. Yeah. We've got to make some decisions about how much and then get it out. Mary.
So would those funds be available if we wanted to do a postcard mailer announcing the defensibles, the chipping program, the programs that could help people with their defensive?
Yes. So Mary's question was, would those funds be available to do mailers to talk about the chipping program and the defensible space outreach? Absolutely. So a couple of things there. The county is going to be working on doing some outreach, and it's going to need to be in partnership with the fire safe councils and others in the fire districts that are in the areas where these focused efforts are going on. But also they really want to encourage all of the associate fire safe councils. That's why there's such an investment being made in training fire safe council members in defensible space evaluations, because we really want to, across the county, ramp up the number of landowner engagement to evaluations. And so, yeah, we need to get an outreach component of all of this to get people primed for, hey, we're going to be out in your neighborhoods, and here's what we're doing. We need your participation, and here's what's going on.
It seems like a large postcard telling people that there is a defensible space evaluation, and then followed up with the programs to support it would be very helpful.
Yeah, I really like what Mary's saying, talking about a postcard with the information about here's the program and sort of here's the schedule and here's what's going to happen. A lot of it's a work in progress. So the contracts that are being let, there's 2 fire districts that are going to be doing the evaluations on behalf of the county. And that'll be El Dorado Hills Fire and Lake Valley Fire in the basin. And then there are focus areas identified for them to work on under that. They have an outreach component of those contracts. All of that's going to ramp up in July. Between now and July, the county's working on updating its defensible space ordinance, which will be going before the Board of Supervisors here in the next month. At the same time, there's a working group of all these folks working sort of on how to roll out these efforts. So there'll be more to come, and I think we'll be bringing more information back here in the next month or two about what this might look like and how this council could fit into those efforts.
Any other questions? Okay.
I know, a little clunky.
Perfect. Thank you, Ken. There was a lot of information there, but I think the biggest exciting piece for us as a council and for folks out that live out here is that these programs are not going to start and stop anymore. And I think that was a big struggle for homeowners who were involved in the chipping program and the D-Space program, is it would start and it would stop as funding was available. But now there is enough money sitting in these programs that is no longer an issue. And I think that will be better for people not to have to worry about when it's open, when it's not. So. Mary.
Yeah, question about the chipping program. Will the time between when you put your
Request in.
request in and you actually get it chipped be shorter because there's going to be, this is going to be ramped up?
So the question that Mary's asked is about the time between when the landowner applies for the chipping program and when they can see a chipping company come out to their house and actually do something. And I know that Jessica, who runs the program, is working really hard to shorten that time up. She's making sure that the contractor and she's got contractors that are localized into particular areas so that they're not running all over the county hither and yon. But she's trying to get them assigned within 2 weeks of that was her goal.
Wow.
And so, and then it would be how that fit into that chipping contractor's schedule. But it was sooner than later. It wasn't going to be months. She was trying for weeks. The one difficulty that we had seen happening is because homeowners thought that they had a long time before the chipping company would come, the chipping company would show up and they say, no, not yet. I'm not ready for you. So when you apply for the chipping program, please make sure you are ready for the chipping program or the defensible space program, because that is a problem and that causes a whole whoop-de-doo that goes on in the process. So it's a waste of everybody's time. And what Jessica has done is basically said, if you turn them away, then that is closed. We did our due diligence to show up at your property to do this for you, and you turned us away. So this is closed and you have to reapply. So that's trying to hold everybody accountable for it. Also we can take credit for chipping and D-Space activities that happen in our council area towards our Firewise renewal. So what Jessica has been doing up till now is if somebody from our council area applies to have chipping done or defensible space done, the actual work on top of what Mike and his group are doing with the defensible space evaluations. She's been, anything that goes through the county fire safe council program, she's been able to track down addresses and determine what fire safe council that they are in, so that we can take credit for the work that goes on in our fire safe council for our Firewise designation and renewal. So as folks are applying and as we as council member are talking to people about applying for chipping and defensible space, if they on their application, there is going to be, I don't think there is currently, but there's going to be a place for what fire safe council you're in. And so if folks will either put Occam Fair Play or AFF, she's been using a 3-letter designator, AFF is our designator, then she can track that and give that back to us when it's time to do our renewal, and we can take credit for all that.
Some
So,
people may not know what council they're in.
no,
She'll help you. If
Yeah.
if it's blank, she'll go back and try to research.
yeah, she'll get it for
Based
us.
on the address.
Yeah, but
that's
she'll,
easy.
but to the extent that folks know, it makes it easier. She can just automatically
That's cool.
do that. So that is super helpful. And she did that for us last year. She actually went through and identified how many chipping days that we had and chipping hours. Sandy has a question.
So Janet, do you not want us to put shipping hours on our timesheets?
It would be double counting, but that's okay. We can track that. I think you put it on for lack of anything. That way we make sure we count it and we can pull it off when we get the detail from the County Fire Safe Council,
Okay,
if it's double counted.
all right, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Any follow-up questions for Ken on the County Fire Safe Council?
Ken, is there an easy way when we go out to evaluate? Refer to the chipping program while we're out there?
So one of the things we're trying to do is have all
Repeat
of
the
the,
question.
so the question from Mike is, hang on, we're getting the microphone ready here. There we go. Is there an easy way to refer people when Mike and his team are out doing defensible space evaluations to refer folks back to these programs? And what we're trying to do is make sure there are materials and handouts and a standard you're all handing out the same information. So there are 4 focus areas on the west slope, including Outingdale, and then there's the one in the Tahoe Basin. As these focus areas are being addressed, everybody, there's a set number of addresses that will be 100% evaluated, and there will be a team of people going to do all this. And the hope is that all the fire safe councils will be part of that. We want this community engagement. Everyone will come with the tools to hand out and share, the resources here, and potentially even Jessica can coordinate doing a community chipping support to that entire focus area. So potentially, as Mike is working with Outingdale on the grant, we can also be working with Outingdale to coordinate as they're doing defensible space evaluations in Outingdale. We can provide the resources we could provide chipping to 100% of the residents if they are interested and wish to do that. We could also provide defensible space work to seniors, veterans, and low income, to anybody in the community that's eligible. So a very proactive approach to doing it. And we want to have all the materials and information available and actually have Jessica prepared to sign people up as this process is occurring. So a real coordinated approach to getting it done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike and Ken, because that was good information and so heads up to anybody from Outingdale. They're coming to evaluate you and help make you more fire safe. And we're very excited about that.
Hey, Julie.
Anybody? Yes,
Mike here. Can I just ask a quick question about the chipping? I have
You
taken
can.
advantage of it before, and they did a fantastic job. And I think one of the rules was I had to cut things and drag them to the road.
that's
Uh,
correct.
What do they consider a road? Because the first 200 yards of my driveway is concrete. The next 300 is, crushed rock. Will they take their chipper on crushed rock?
I think so, Mike. I think if it's accessible and it's a road and they don't have to drive off-road like through mud, it's all consolidated in one.
2 months ago. It was
Did you
pretty
hear
wet.
that, Mike?
Yeah, I did. 2 months ago it was pretty wet, but it's dry now and has crushed stone on it. And I'd still bring everything to the road. It's just a matter of, I've actually tried to get AAA here and they finally asked a question, how far are you off the road? I said, about 500 feet. Click, hang up. They don't go off road.
our roads in El Dorado County, we consider they're accessible, but it doesn't have to be a paved. It just has to be accessible by vehicles and a truck.
Mhm.
It's reasonable. We can't expect they're driving through mud and to get there or up a hill or something that's not accessible by.
I get it. I can always tow them up to where the gravel intersects with the concrete if necessary, but if I'll just talk to them and see what they're comfortable with.
Yeah, you can check with Jessica as you apply. And a reminder to everybody that we changed the El Dorado County Fire Safe Council changed to twice a year. You have 2 chipping days per year rather than just 1. So 6 hours each, but have your material together and, ready for them to chip when you get there. All right, moving on. Anybody, I know Shyla's not here. Anything from Oma Ranch in the room? Hearing none. Grizzly Flats or Sandridge? Hearing none. Moving on to the chair and vice chair reports. I have a couple of things. And I talked about that already. We are supporting John in his effort at the that one, the Home and Garden Show, by purchasing a banner for him, which advertises that he is making address signs. That will also be available for any future green waste days or other enough to spend his time making address signs, working his fingers to the bone for several days. So we are getting an address sign sales banner, and we are also going to, and I need to get on this for you, get the credit card taking square, the little thing that you stick into your phone and accepts credit cards, so that folks don't have to have cash or checks, because not many people run around places with cash or checks these days. So we're going to set John up so that he can manage the square and accept credit card payments. That will result in a small fee, but I think overall it will be beneficial.
Just realized we need to talk about that, because that requires a mobile phone, right?
Yes.
My mobile phone is a company phone.
All right, we'll talk.
Can't, so
We'll talk.
I can't do it over the.
We'll talk. Okay. So that is something, John's comment was that his phone is a company phone, so we may have to rethink how we manage that. But getting the square anyway, I think is going to help us in future fundraising events and future activities that we have. I think we should just go ahead and do that. Mike, knowing that South County Grant is coming up later in the agenda, anything for you on the vice chair report?
No, other than getting a few worksheets from you, timesheets are few and far between. I've given some support for Mike Davidson to get access to his AFFC.org email, where he thought one day he lost everything. It just turned out he was in the wrong account. So I work with Microsoft to get that corrected. As far as the wine storage, I think the last I heard from Kim was that despite Shyla being, sidelined for a period of time, they seem to have things in place with the QR codes and email that I set up for them. So I'm kind of backing off until I get requested to do any more there. That'd be about it.
Yes, Mike, you're right. Sorry.
She was diligently writing and I made her talk. So yes, you are correct. They seem to be fine with the QR code. And when Shyla gets back, yeah.
Tomorrow, actually.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's tomorrow.
Perfect. All right, so moving on to activity reports. The item on the agenda is the newsletter and letting Jane know how much we appreciate her. She has asked a question and I wanted her, she doesn't know this, but I wanted her to broach the topic with the council and for us to have an open and honest discussion about our newsletter and where we go from here. So Jane, would you like to share with the council your question of me regarding our newsletter? Because I think it's important for the council to hear your thoughts and for us to give you our thoughts.
Okay. Well, I opened up my draft of what am I gonna write this time? The time of year and it's ready. But I had, I think, at least 2 years of, ready at a certain time of year, and I kind of regurgitated, got different graphics and repackaged it and did go again. And I don't know if I can do it a third time. That's a Foothill Fire Flash. Oh,
Sorry, you're good.
That's okay. You just keep going.
all the 30 councils can submit individual information to, if there, I didn't see where the editor was listed on there, but to this newsletter, and like you say, consolidate and get the word out and have our fire safe council give our email list, so it's a big general blast. So I just, like I said, a third time, I just don't know that I can do it. There's just nothing new to, and I want a newsletter to be newsy and a reason to pick it up and read from start to finish. So that's where I stand.
Question of the council, and I open it up to all of you, is whether we should, and I'll back up just a second. The Foothill Fire Flash was intended to be information provided out from the El Dorado County Fire Safe Council, from which local councils could take information for their local newsletters. Her thought was the opposite of what you're thinking, that you could take her articles and add it to anything that we have locally, to help local councils with kind of general messaging. So that was Alice Cantelo is the one who puts that together, and she does a really good job. Which is why I sent it to you if you wanted to pull anything from it. But from the council's perspective, we have not done a good job of supporting Jane with articles and making sure that she has materials. And part of it is exactly what Jane is saying. We're submitting the same articles over and over. We're not giving Jane support with new material because we haven't really had a lot of new material to provide. So the question to the council in supporting Jane and her question is, do we want to continue submitting a local newsletter, which we had committed to our partners in our partner councils, that we would make it a South County newsletter, but we really haven't gotten anything from them either. Or do we turn it over more to this Foothill Fire Flash and go from there? So I open it up to the council for comment.
I got it.
Mary first.
Mary, I'd just like to comment that I read the Foothill Fire Flash online and found it to be very helpful. So there's a lot of good information in it. But I think because it came to me online and I was able to skim the parts quickly that I didn't need. It was very
Like, we can do. We got what's for-
So Branch was the one participating.
Oh, we tried that already. Well, there goes my question.
Well, they did, they submitted some good information. But as far as how many councils there would be.
Thought it was more Branch was interested. I don't know.
Yeah, I never got anything from that.
Did you have a comment? John has a comment. We can only go so far with the mic, John. You ready?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's good. Well, I want to applaud Jane. For- Doesn't come, yes, that, personally, articles, well, articles we have, and we in the future are going to probably be very duplicative of what the home hardening, if it's space, you know, how much can you do that? It's not new. So from that perspective, I absolutely agree. You know, I'm would be supportive of just going with the flash. However, we have occasional things like our grant here and need for rights of entry, things like that, where something local would be helpful. Now, that may not be a newsletter. There might be another venue to do that. And something maybe just periodic, not on a regular basis. I don't know what that would look like, but that's my thought. And then just to follow up on the flash, I assume that just gets sent to the councils. It's not sent to some giant email list. Is that
Yeah,
right?
The list is going out to all of the fire safe councils within El Dorado County, and I think she's probably building a bigger stakeholder group. But I think the intent was that the councils would then take it and do it.
Exactly.
Right, and originally, going back to the original point, when she first started putting it together, Alice, the outreach coordinator, she was trying to just provide material for the councils to take from and build their own. But what's happening is it's morphing into people want to read it, and so she's making it more user friendly for the average reader. So yeah, it's an interesting quandary, right? How many? It is absolutely good information, but it doesn't help, you know, and she never intended it to be something to help with a local associate council specific sort of events, or she's trying to capture that. If anybody tells her what's coming up, she'll certainly put that in there. But it was originally intended to be sort of a source of good information for people to draw from. But I think it's evolving into more of a general newsletter to go to everyone.
So how does she feel about that? I mean, is she willing to take everybody's notes and add them? I mean, that's a lot for her to.
Build a website, I mean, a newsletter with new article. She's always looking for articles based on sort of themes each quarter or every 2 months. But I think she is willing to put down if there's key events going on. If we're having a wildfire, you know, preparedness fair here,
Right.
she would put that in there. I think she wants content like that.
Or, you know, or,
Correct.
Well,
yeah,
then, yeah, that would work.
or coordinated chipper
Exactly.
day at a certain time and address, yeah, or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it is a quantity, but it's not going to get into, you know, what's going on with the water tank in Omo Ranch, or, you know, if we're working on the, you know, our own community, want to talk about something specific to our community. It may, she's probably not going to get to that level of detail.
They did an article on the Omo Ranch tanks installed, so,
So
yeah, she did it.
Involving where she wants to secure feedback. We're happening and she's, okay, I want to provide more user interest kinds of articles.
The other thing is that she obviously has the expertise to put together graphically a very attractive newsletter. I mean, the way she's used color behind her.
I think she took
Stages.
to, what's not MailChimp, what's the other one? The
Constant contact.
I think that's-
So I'm, you know, so, I mean, just the setup is very modern.
Just to John, just to follow up on this, if the flash gets sent to the council and then we send it out to our contact list, we have opportunity at that time to add another little document if some important news like our grant or something like that, and just put that in there as a less formal addition.
Flyer type thing.
Yeah. Yeah, not necessarily part. That's not an easy thing to change, but we'd have our own. Maybe going out with.
You had a comment? Sandy?
Was wondering
Sandy.
what actually for our newsletter would be the most beneficial for us. If the Flash puts out the basics of fire prevention, etc., and things that are opening up or events that are happening, what focus do we want if we continued a newsletter? Because I'm wondering if, as the neighbor to neighbor program gets worked on, would it be beneficial to have things that different individuals in the separate neighbor to neighbor areas are doing written up about? Would that help to spur community members thinking, well, maybe I could do that, you know, or possibly this could work into a situation that I'm having? Are we looking for that kind of information, or are we just looking for basic fire prevention and evacuation and family preparedness type things?
Huh, looks like we might have lost them.
Yep, it does. We'll give
think we-
them a minute.
I think we need to have a fundraiser for internet for the council.
Well, the problem does need fixing.
Even putting more emphasis on our own divisions, so to speak, to get I don't know, so to speak, are on my area to, hey, we've got 4 our on the newsletter, are gonna be out there, you're gonna be.
Sandy, it was your question that, put us off the deep end, apparently.
I guess I'm good at that.
The one suggestion that somebody did make is, and I don't have it yet, and it's something that you have to check on availability, is that Starlink is pretty easy to set up and pull down. I haven't checked to see if it's available in my area, but since we only meet once or twice a month, that is a possibility where whoever's hosting the meeting could have their Starlink and I know a friend of mine who's traveling around the country with
They're
a
struggling with that.
mobile RV that's uses Starlink.
And-
The connectivity is fantastic.
Okay, let's see if they're,
So can you hear us now?
We can hear, I just heard that, Janet, yeah.
Yep, perfect. And Sandy will come back to finish your comment, but my concern is if we give up our newsletter or some form of public outreach that goes out to everybody in our community, we're struggling now with advertising ourselves under our logo. We're struggling with getting interest in folks to participate. And if we completely give up our one and only real outreach effort,
Jean, did you? No, here, Mary, go ahead.
First of all, I noticed I have Foothill Fire.
Oh, sorry. It's got unmuted. Sorry.
Okay. I noticed that I have on my phone, I have the Foothill Fire Flash and 2 spats. One was the one that you sent, Janet, and the other one was a link in Lori Parlin's the El Dorado County Supervisor in her newsletter that she had a link to it. So I think actually that's why I read it. But my thought was that I totally agree with Janet that it's really important that we keep our name out there and we we continue to be visible. Perhaps we might want to think of doing something that's more focused and a little shorter and not the typical newsletter, but more just here's what's going on in our community. With the defensible space training with, with the, and the different programs that are available to people, and just kind of keep that up there. And sometimes maybe even instead of doing it quarterly, like even more frequently, real short page, just a page with information or something like that. I don't know exactly.
Sandy, you want to finish your thought on the neighbor to neighbor?
Oh, I'm not sure where I got cut off. My thought was, because I do feel like we need to have some kind of contact with our community. That's just our fire safe council and them. And so was wondering if with the neighbor to neighbor program, if it would be, what thoughts would be of having people's experiences with the chipping program or with the, the different options that are available. Because I feel like if it's made more of a personal type, these are the things happening in our community with our community people. And I don't know quite how that would function, but that to me would bring more of a one-to-one and a unifying connection. And I think that's part of what we need to look at with the newsletter, is to have it be something where the community is feeling, oh, yes, this helped my neighbor, and so I can step into doing something that will help me, and I can spread the word to another neighbor. And I feel like it could be a catalyst for binding us together, because I don't feel at this point that, I think there's some community that are interested, but I don't think there's a lot that really are individually connected into what is happening.
Any other thoughts?
I think, Jane, you're doing a marvelous job myself.
I will tell you that I get more comments on our newsletter and how good it is from folks outside of our council area who talk about the newsletter. It has been, obviously, since others have wanted to participate in it, it has been a good, highly effective newsletter, and people want to be part of it. I do know that, obviously. I am happy and open to suggestions. I and then be what's going on in our community, where the defensible space evaluations and inspections are occurring, what's going on with sign sales, any other fundraisers we're going to do, and do something that's maybe more local, and maybe every other month is too much, quarterly, whatever. Oh, but a one pager rather than the multi-pager,
Okay.
as an option, as a bridging.
And I would encourage you, Janet, to send out I think the El Dorado County newsletters evolved towards.
Yes.
Go to everybody. So there's good stuff in there that I think is, even if it's general information, everybody should.
Well, and I'm recognizing that after this discussion, like I say, my initial thought of it was what we had initially, the idea was just to provide content for the local newsletters. But if we're going to do that, that means that we as a council need to continually provide content. Yes, so I think go forward on a standing item let's start every other month.
Okay.
Is on the agenda is to identify articles for the
Absolutely. I
newsletter.
agree with that.
and dates for that content to be submitted. And for folks who maybe need editorial help, happy to provide editorial help and make it be what it needs to be to help Jane get where she needs to be.
Jot it down.
No shit, with AI developing, we probably won't need that.
I know, we have chorus.
Hey, Jane,
Yeah.
for those of us who can't. write.
Does that sound reasonable to you, Jane?
I'll give it a try.
Okay.
I have a busy summer, so, unfortunately, it has to work around my schedule. Things, so, I'll think about a deadline routine and see how much time I'll come out with something, and I just have to think this through.
Is there any way you can like get a hold of the board maybe and send like a draft and then say, hey, is there anything anyone, then it would all click in our heads, oh, Jane needs something right now, she's doing it. And we
Well,
could add right then.
sometimes that doesn't work, so,
We've tried that.
yeah.
So, Mike, go ahead and draft something up, submit it to me about the folks that are going and I, if you can wait till after the training so that you can get their feedback about what it is. And let's start there.
Well, I'm also thinking about people who have inspections, would they feel uncomfortable giving their names and addresses, or?
Well, that's kind of thinking too, I mean, it might be kind of nice to say, hey, your neighbor got inspected, what's wrong with you,
No.
I'm not in those words, but.
It's willing to do kind of a testimonial. Hey, I had one done and here's how I feel about it.
100%, yeah.
Continue on a regular basis.
My thought was kind of like saying, advertising, hey, we have evaluators, they're let's say gonna be in the Outingdale, they're gonna concentrate in the Outingdale, and we're gonna have information on the chipping program, and we're gonna be in here for this 2 weeks. Sign up for your evaluations now.
Yep.
That type of thing.
Yep.
And put it in there. We're due.
Usually coming up is someone there who can take a photograph of our local people who are in the training.
We have somebody do it. Tom and I are gonna be there.
Okay.
Yeah.
To get several photographs and then send them to Jane, and she'll have some photographs for the newsletter.
And talk about
Right.
the content of the training.
Wear your best clothes.
So for a
Make sure you bring all.
trial
your
period,
Time, okay, all right.
for a trial period, and then,
Did, right?
so we will we will commit to sending out the Foothill Fire Flash to both of our newsletters or lists or contact lists. We probably should connect up and make sure that we did that once, and I think we need to do it again.
Right.
And then every other month or quarterly, whatever it works out to be, and we can talk about that. Do something that's local under our own logo that goes out, that talks about what's going on locally. Let the Foothill Fire Flash talk about the Ready, Set, Go and all of that, and try and see if we can come up with a short one-pager on local events.
So are we going to stick to Ockham Fairplay Fire Safe Council, or are we going to do South County? Are we going to?
If you're not getting anything from them, the only thing would be to reach out to them, and if they're not providing content, I wouldn't.
Okay.
I mean, we're going to support our counselors, I guess. If they provide content and there's something that we can put in, happy to do that, but we want to support our council, I think, first and foremost. So having said that, this just came out. So let's send that out to our contact list for this month.
You want me to send it out?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Did it just come out from the chair? You know,
We haven't, she has always sent it out, the newsletter. I can send it out from the chair.
So.
So you want, I can send this out and then you can work on the other one. How's that?
Okay,
Okay. We need to consolidate lists.
yeah, we need to.
All
I'll
right,
send you mine using.
perfect. Any other comments on the newsletter? And is
Oh.
everybody comfortable with the direction that we're going?
Yeah,
Mary.
I like the direction and really appreciate Jane's work. It's a lot of
Yes.
work to do a newsletter.
I know it is.
And the only other thing I would say that is when you're sending out the PDF of the newsletter, you should also send out that link that Lori Parlin has so that people can just bring it up on their phone.
I think there's a link, well, when the website's working, there's a link to it there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so there should be
That's what it's getting at.
some link so that
Okay.
people can access it.
And Mike, starting with you, content, and then Mike Panett will also work on some content on the South County grant.
Yeah, did you want me to update or?
I would like to prepare a short article or a paragraph along with and
It's coming through so garbled, I can't tell if somebody's speaking to me or somebody else.
and
We lost him again. It wasn't just you, Sandy, it was me that time.
Wow,
Okay.
at least I'm not alone. It's not a club of one person
The
anymore.
kiss of death. Are we back?
you're back. Can you hear me?
I do now, yep,
Mike?
yep.
Okay, so if you would send me an article, a short paragraph on the South County grant, the status and the need for right of entry is by the end of the month.
No problem.
Okay,
I have all the stats.
so finishing with activity reports, going to unfinished business. Mike, while we have internet connectivity, you're up.
Okay, I'll talk quick. On the ROEs, we've sent out 350, 70 have been returned positive. Only one is an abstain, and it's in kind of a critical property in Oma Ranch off Slug Gulch. Julie Winia is going to try to reach out to that person. They're in their district. The shaded field breaks, they've identified and agreed on which ones are going to be the priority, and right of entry forms and letters are going to be going out to those people in those shaded field breaks next Tuesday. They're having a stuff the envelope little party there. CEQA is going to be the next big step because now that all the roadside maintenance and shaded fuel breaks have been identified, they can finish off the CEQA. It's partially done, it's not fully done. The forester is finished with their work for now. We're talking about, like you have here, how to get the word out beyond just a letter. One of the suggestions today was, to put on the letter, please don't, put in the trash, important, please open. And we're gonna kind of go back to the roadside maintenance and the shaded fuel break people probably within the next month. Diamond Springs is gonna do their community event, like the one that we held in at the Fireman's Hall across from Pioneer in the coming weeks. We're working on our second quarterly report. There's a draft of it. If people would like to see it and comment, I'm happy to share it. We're making good progress. We're essentially on time and on schedule. And people are engaged. It'd be nice. I made the comment today that, if we were 75% on people responding to the ROE, I'd feel more comfortable than just 20%. but the group kind of felt that it wasn't time to panic, but just to keep on course. And Holly from RCD said this is pretty normal and typical behavior. One other thing that the individual fire safe councils requested is that Holly create separate address spreadsheets for who they're sending everything to. So that should it come to a thing where we have to go out and knock on doors, we know who the hell should have received an ROE letter and who we can possibly try to influence more. Leah Yaws, the fire chief for Diamond Springs, who's been very, very helpful, not only in participating in most of the meetings, but also giving us space to hold these meetings twice a month, is retiring the end of this month. So I don't know who her replacement is, but I don't foresee that we'll have any less support having our meetings there and with the new fire chief. And Vickers, the Cal Fire Battalion chief, remains in place and has been very supportive as well. That's kind of a thumbnail. Situation normal. And we're moving ahead. Oh,
Thank you.
and one of the things,
Go ahead.
one, I did make sure that we were all accounted for in the in-kind funding. The form I saw that Lester drafted was about this particular quarter, there was about $4,000 worth of in-kind commitment from the various fire safety groups. So we should be able to make our 50 grand no problem.
Perfect. Thank you. John?
Yeah, Mike, this is John. I've got a question regarding what we call knocking on doors when we don't have response for right of entry forms. Given some of the recent events in the media with these kind of knocking on doors or driving down a driveway, has there been discussion in the group about how to approach that now?
No, no, there hasn't. I mean, those are obviously, John, very recent. I think they're all within the last 3 days, 4 days. I really empathize with the one in New York where, as we know around here, you lose cell phone service quite often. And if you're lost, it can be devastating. I think the idea, the reason I've reached out to Cindy at Otterdale and other people that I know, and I know Julie Winnie is doing the same in Omo Ranch. We really don't want to have to go out and knock on somebody's door. I think Mike Davison had a, kind of a comment about it earlier. If we're going to be in an area, then let's publicize the fact that we're going to be in an area and either have a place where they can come and meet us or get a little bit more information and spoon feed them that way, as opposed to knocking on a door. Which, as you say and point out, is especially in this region, not the best thing that we could be doing. So the way, no, we didn't specifically talk about it, but my suggestion would be that we try to use the influencers in each of these communities to actually go out and do smaller separate events where people can come to us as opposed to us to them.
Mike, that sounds good. This, when we were doing our original surveys for Firewise, I don't know how many other people ran into a couple, but I ran into at least 2 instances where if I'd actually approached that driveway a little more, that person was out on the house, not with a gun, but they made it very clear they did not want me getting any closer. Thanks.
Yeah, so I think the tack will be to have enough honey that they can come to us. And again, use people that are known in the community to get the word out. And, I don't mind spending time either at the post office or other places. And we can put that out on the Facebook, on our website and other places saying, hey, come meet the AFSC people working this grant. Get more information. We have a mountain of information that we can share. It's just a matter of how best to get it to people. And there will be more community events. The other David that's on the line here, we really have to fix this whole networking problem. because it's limiting ability of people to dial in, get information. And I know Diamond Springs had the same thing when they were trying to do their community event. The Lions Hall had a problem with networking ability. They really were tin cupping it a lot around to try to get it so that they could actually have the event. And as did we. So I'll look into, I mentioned, I'll look into Starlink and check those programs and see if they exist. They're not everywhere yet, and you have to get on a waiting list. But they're extremely mobile. They have two variants. One, you can have it be mobile, and use it as we need to.
That would be awesome. All right, thank you, Mike, on that. Item B is the election committee. Kim?
Okay, so June, as we all know, is gonna be elections, which means May, we will need nominees for any of the open positions, which will be chair. And Sandy, I don't know if you know, if you want to get back to me, or do you know what you're gonna be doing? You want to wait on that?
Let me get back with you.
Perfect. So nominees, if you know anybody, if anybody else out there knows, we could take from the floor in May, I believe, correct? And elections will be held in the June meeting. You want to say anything, John?
No, do we have a committee yet?
Me and you, buddy.
Me too?
Yeah. So that's about it.
The only comment I've got, it's kind of obvious. We losing 2 more members on the council. We need to get more members. This is not directly tied to the election, but when you've got good number of council members, you have a resource for those officers. And that's, I think, a key thing. I've got feelers out to a number of people, a couple I know now are not going to respond. But there's a couple others, we'll see. Just as council members is the way I'm introducing the subject to a few folks that I know around here. And you know, if they can if we can get them on the council, well, then we've got an opportunity, at least in the future. I don't have anything else.
And as I mentioned before, I'm happy to stay on the council and help wherever anybody sees fit that I need to help, so. Moving forward, item 8, new business. The El Dorado County Wildfire Strategy. Ken, would you like to share what's going on with that?
So just really brief, the El Dorado County's Office of Wildfire Preparedness and Resilience has drafted a wildfire strategy for the county under the direction of the Board of Supervisors, and in coordination with the there's a coordination group with CAL FIRE, again, fire chiefs, the Fire Safe Council, and others that are really helping advise the Office of Wildfire Preparedness on these fire issues. They've developed sort of it's a 50,000-foot strategy for, you know, again, how to coordinate at that countywide level, the various projects and activities, grants, et cetera, so that everybody is not siloed up, but really working, you know, under one sort of common theme. So the strategy sort of out as a very draft document that sort of outlines how that is proposed to work. So on May 17th, the county's hosting a workshop at the El Dorado Irrigation District headquarters in Placerville. It'll be from 1:30 to 3:30, where they'll basically be presenting the strategy and taking public comment or comments on it. It primarily went out to stakeholders, didn't go out to a broad public announcement, but certainly anybody is welcome to attend. You can view the strategy. I sent it out. I think Janet mailed it out to all of the members, so you can read it there. It's also available on the El Dorado County website. If you go to the Chief Administrator's Office section, there's a tab to click on the Office of Wildfire Preparedness. It's a little bit kind of buried down there, but there's a link that the entire strategy and the documents associated with that are all there for review, along with the information on the workshop coming up. You can provide comments directly into the county And you can actually provide any kind of email to the county on wildfire issues at wildfireready@edc.gov.us, wildfireready.edc.gov.us. So they're taking comments on the strategy, as well as, again, any other issues relative to wildfire preparedness for the county. So it really is a step forward for the county, working on, again, county engaging more and helping facilitate wildfire preparedness. And this is an important document for folks to comment on, primarily as stakeholders. So anyway, it's there.
Questions for Ken on the wildfire strategy? The document is really a step forward that the El Dorado County Board of Supervisors has been really pushing this topic and making it a greater emphasis within the county. And so this is kind of the document that recognizes that there's a whole bunch of other entities that have plans that they have statutory requirements or other requirements to complete. And this is kind of an overarching plan to help guide each of these other agencies in coordinating and communicating with each other to make the most of their resources within the county. So please take some time and look at it. And if you have any comments, please send those into the website that Ken mentioned. All right. No public comment tonight. Any comment from our folks online? Hearing none. Council comments? Any other comments from our council? Yes, Mary.
I just wanted to let you know that Sandy and I have been working on the neighbor to neighbor project, not we've been working on it. And I have, we both, we're in the process of fine tuning what our ideas about what it should look like. And I started to reach out to some of my neighbors to see if they would be interested in being in being part of that project. So we're starting. So I just wanted to let you know that. And I also wanted to ask the council if they had any sort of directions for us as we're starting to fine tune.
Any comments for Mary? My thought was what I would like to see from is a presentation to the council, and then we can, once we know what you have, it will be easier to comment and provide feedback and direction. When we see what your plan, what your thoughts are of how it might work. Any other? Yeah, I think we'd like to. So when do you think you might be ready next month to give us a presentation of what your thoughts are on what it might look like?
Possibly. I'll be meeting by Zoom next month.
Will you be back in June?
Possibly. I'm leaving in June till
So look at your calendar and see if May or June work, and we'll have you and Sandy give us a presentation on what this program might look like, and then we can help. That will give us something to provide feedback to.
Okay.
So
when is the June meeting?
I'd have to look.
Oh, here, 21st. I'll be here the 21st.
Okay, so let's plan that for the June meeting. Any other comments on council comments? I have the folks who are doing Fire Chasers, the event that's being held in Plymouth at the fairgrounds, are preparing their event for this year, and they've reached out and asked if I would help push their message which I agreed to do. And so I will be putting out their information to our contact list. The Fire Chasers event is on May 20th, which I think is a Saturday. And it's the one-day event that they have with, and I think folks from local council areas here participated last year in their event. It's at the fairgrounds in Plymouth. So if anybody's interested in that, that's when that will be occurring. Don't forget to go visit John at the Lawn and Garden Show. Have him Home and Garden Show. I will never get that right. Lawn and Garden Show, Home and Garden Show, some garden show that's happening. I just can't get that straight in my head. But go see John, say hi, have him make a sign for you. Buy a sign. That's great. Bring ice cream. John needs ice cream. And then don't forget to visit the El Dorado County Fire Safe Council and other local fire related agencies at the fair that's coming up in June. And I will remind you all of that next month. Anything else for the good of the order? Mike, Sandy, anything for the good of the order? Appreciate you guys sticking with us. I know the internet cut out a couple of times.
Almost a rip.
Not bad.
Yeah, it was a better night than other nights. Let's put it that way. But thank you guys for hanging in with us. And with that, meeting adjourned.
Thank you, Jane.